The FNRad Snowboard podcast is presented by Vans. Season 7 of FNRad is sponsored by Wired Snowboards, the Boardroom Snowboard Shop, and On Optics, Time Bomb Trading, and Tribute Board Shop in Nelson, BC. Tribute Board Shop at 556 Baker Street in Nelson is a must-visit destination if you plan to ride the BC's interior, which is home to legendary mountains and snowfall. Tribute offers a curated selection of snowboarding equipment and gladly shares their hard-earned knowledge on fit and performance with their customers. They also offer rental snowboards and split boards with skins, probes, shovels, and packs, as well as offering snowboard tune-ups and repairs featuring eco-friendly wax, diamond stone edging, base and sidewall repairs, all done by hand. Visit Tribute Board Shop in Nelson, BC, or buy online from tributeboardshop.ca. Support for Season 7 also comes from Grouse Mountain, Mount Seymour, New Greens, which is the superfood greens drink sourced from North American farms, GoPro, and Volcom outerwear. Thanks to everyone who supports the show. Jamie Salter's contributed a lot to snowboarding over the years. He was one of the first businessmen to recognize that snowboarding was on the trajectory to become a worldwide phenomenon. He sat in meeting rooms with people like Jake Carpenter, Tom Sims, Mike Olsen, and Chuck Barfoot, helping to decide the direction snowboarding would go as it grew. Ride Snowboards started as a partnership between Salter, Tim Pogue, Jason Ford, Russell Winfield, Jake Blattner, and several others, which made headlines worldwide when the company went public. Jamie's working with his sons at his Manhattan offices for his post-retirement project, Authentic Brands Group. ABG owns tons of brands, including Volcom and recently Reebok, and Jamie Salter is the chairman and CEO of the whole shebang. We set up an interview in a boardroom down the hall from his corner office overlooking midtown Manhattan and Times Square.
I don't make any mistakes. Okay, let's do this.
So you're working like 20 hours a day? You sleep 2 hours a night or something?
4 hours.
4 hours a night?
4 hours.
You hear
4 hours.
yourself in there? You're good?
Yeah, I'm good.
It's a good level there. All right.
Phil All-Star.
You know how to do this. You've done this before. Holy shit.
Hey, Phil, come over here. That's my heavy duty lawyer right there.
Nice.
Can I do this? Am I allowed to do this? Should I be careful what I say? I shouldn't talk about any girls. No girls. No. No men. No men. No men. Phil, I like your hair. I like your hair, Phil. Phil, make sure you get a COVID test. Okay, let's go.
All right.
I'm excited.
Me too, man. Okay, let's start right at the beginning. How in the hell do you meet David Kemper or the Kemper brothers?
Well, that is actually a quick, great story. David Kemper reached out to a guy named Lance Brackman. Lance Brackman was my partner at the time in, I think it was called Surf Paradise. We owned Whaler windsurfers. And David Kemper reached out to Lance and said, hey, I'm in the snowboard business and, we should get together and you should distribute my boards in your store. And David Kemper came to meet Lance. He was all of, I think, 15 years old. And I said, hey, how many snowboards have you made? He says, oh, we made a lot. I said, how many is a lot? He says, 35. I said, 35? And I said, David, we'd like to do a deal with you. We're going to pay you $1,000 for each snowboard you've made. We're going to buy your business for $35,000. And we bought, I can't remember. I think we bought 95% and David kept 5% and we paid him $35,000.
Holy shit.
And that's how we bought Kemper snowboards.
How did you know? Like, how had you snowboarded yourself? Did you see it?
I had no idea.
What year are we talking? Like 86 or something?
86.
Yeah.
And there was, he brought the snowboards in and they had like a little metal, whatever you call it, edge.
Skag or whatever.
Skag or something like, sort of like this little metal thing that today you would find it in your toolbox.
Yeah.
And there were two of them. They were clipped, sort of to the back of the board.
Yeah.
And that worked as sort of, to carve and to dig in and stop or whatever.
Sure. Yeah, it didn't work.
And I said, how come there's no metal edges like snow skis? Oh, Mr. Salter, they don't make these like they make snow skis. They make these like they make skateboards.
Right.
And I said, okay, I know how to make skateboard. I used to make skateboards when I was in school, and you get the fiberglass and the wood and the plywood, and you'd make a skateboard. And he said, yeah, we make them the same way. I said, oh, well, why wouldn't you make them like skis? No, again, I told you we don't make them that way. I said, well, we should make them like skis.
Yeah.
And he goes, well, how are you going to do that? I said, well, we should go to Austria and try to figure that out. And I did a bunch of research, and there was no such thing as the internet back then. And I figured out that there was a company in Austria making snowboards. They were making Crazy Creek, Crazy Banana, Nitro, and Burton.
Wow.
And that was a company called Palais.
Palais, yeah.
And they were making snowboards. So I went there, and I remember I got off the airplane, and they picked me up and drove to St. Stephen, and I went into this factory and met this guy. His name's Walter Canada. And I said, Walter, and he was wearing his vest and the whole thing. It was, like you look back and you go, this is like right out of a movie, but he's total Austrian. And I said, how many snowboards you make? He says, I make 15,000 snowboards a year. I said, really? That's a lot of snowboards. And how much are they? And he told me the price, and I said, great, I'll take them all. He said, you can't buy all the snowboards. I have other customers. I said, no, really, you can put on a night shift, do something. I'll take all 15,000. He says, you're not serious. I said, no, I'm serious. I'm serious. He says, where are you going to get the money? I said, I work for this guy, Lance Brackman, the father's in the real estate business. They're really rich. Don't worry, we'll come up with the money. He says, kid, I like you. I'll take the order. And he says, how many styles you got? I said, what do you mean styles? Don't you have the styles? I said, I think that we need these to have a high tip and a high tail. I said, because most of the boards that I've seen are kind of flat, and we need to make it like freestyle. He says, why would you say that? And I said, well, because I'm a freestyler. And I, have skis that are turned up on the front, and they're turned up on the back, and I can do helicopters with them, and I can do all kinds of funny stuff on these skis because, the tips are turned up and the tails are turned up.
Yeah.
So why wouldn't we just make a freestyle board?
Yeah.
He says, what are you going to call it? I said, I'm going to call it freestyle. And I made the green. Okay. You remember the board.
Of course.
And
Noah Selaznick wrote it. It's so iconic. Yeah.
And I made the Kemper freestyle board.
That's incredible.
And that's what it was called, the Kemper freestyle board. And that started my career. And he goes, how are you going to sell them? I said, I haven't figured that out yet, but don't worry, I'll figure that out. And I went to the ski show. I remember I got a 10 by 10 booth.
In Vegas?
In Vegas.
Yeah.
And we sold all 15,000 boards in 3 days.
Are you kidding me?
And, who did we sell them to? Well, we sold them to specialty retailers. We sold them to big box retailers. We kind of sold them to anyone that had a pulse because we didn't know any better.
Yeah.
And Jake Burton came over to me, and may he rest in peace. And, he's my mentor, friend. I can't say enough amazing things about Jake. But Jake said, why are you selling the big sporting goods guys? So why wouldn't we? They sell canoes. They sell, mountain gear. They sell ski wear. They sell snow skis. Why shouldn't they sell snowboards if they sell snow skis? He says, well, they don't really like snowboards on the mountain. I said, why don't they let snowboards on the mountain? He says, well, there's a few, we've been lobbying them. I said, well, aren't snowboards good for the mountain? They sort of pack down the hills, and, they're sort of like the tractors that go up and down like the cats. And he goes, well, that's a positive way of looking at it. I said, I think all places should allow snowboarding. I don't see the big deal. And I really got on the Rick Alden train, okay, because you remember Alden was there.
Yeah.
And I said, I'll help.
Yeah.
And I started to lobby, the ski resorts. And I started with Blue Mountain in Ontario because I lived in Toronto.
It's one of the first places I snowboarded.
Right.
It's great.
That's where I sort of started to lobby it. And I went to Gord. I think his name was Gord Cannon or Gord something. And I said, revenue, like money. You can charge these people.
Yeah.
He says, no, they're bad people. They smoke dope. Funny now, look back, right? Everyone's smoking dope now.
Yeah.
But the funny thing is he said, no, it's not going to work.
Right.
I said, why don't we divide up the mountain a little bit? Let's let the snowboarders use certain parts of the mountain.
Yep.
And if skiers want to go there, they could go there. They could mix with the snowboarders, but the snowboarders can't mix with skiers.
Yep.
Let's see if that works. And of course, Gord started to allow it. Snowboarding picked up like right away.
Just instantly.
And of course, Gord was getting everybody at Blue Mountain, and very quickly he opened it up to everybody.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then we started in Colorado, and I think Breckenridge was the first one, or Loveland, I think, Loveland Pass.
You know what?
Good snow there.
Yeah. I haven't been to Colorado. I might go this year. I'm hoping to go.
We started to really push, everybody. And then Vail came on, and that was big. So when Vail came on, and the reason Vail came on is because Breckenridge was eating up their business for lunch because everybody wanted to go snowboarding. Everyone wanted to try it. And of course, back in the day when like all the young kids, they didn't even want to ski anymore. They just wanted to snowboard because it was free, like not free as in like free, but it was like you felt free. And it really started to get a great reputation with the younger generation. And then some of the, older people started doing it. Now, look, I was all of, early 20s when I started this, but I can honestly say that it was like 1969, even though I didn't know what really 1969 was because I was 6 years old.
Yeah.
But it was fun, and there was no tension and there was no stress, and people really enjoyed each other. And the snowboarding crowd, people started taking a liking to these people, like they're happy people.
Totally.
And I think that, snowboarding got a bit of a bad rap at the beginning.
Yeah.
Because they were free and you look at today, the whole world, is like this.
Yeah.
Where they just sort of, I'm not going to say they run wild, but they definitely, people want to do what people want to do.
Yeah.
So I really liked my snowboarding days because it really taught me how to think out loud, think creatively, and be who Jamie Salter is today. I mean, I'm all about, being a happy person, having a fun time, and no idea is a bad idea. It's just an idea.
Yeah.
And if you really believe in it, you should go for it. And that's what snowboarding was all about.
What was it about snowboarding that you believed in? Like, this guy's got 35 wood boards. He probably handmade in his garage, right? Like, it's not like he got them manufactured somewhere. You just could see surfing on the snow was going to be the thing.
Well, truth of the matter was, we didn't make a lot of money in the wintertime. Okay, we were selling windsurfers, and we kind of needed to sell something in the winter.
Yeah.
Well, as you know, snowboarding just completely took off. Okay, boom. We were one of the first people in the business.
Yeah.
Chuck Barfoot. There wasn't like 300 companies. Okay?
And you lucked into a really good board, like the Kemper Freestyle out of the press, probably the best board of that era.
For sure.
Right, like in the second generation, the blacktop one, I tried to get the 155 Mini when I was a kid, and they said I was too big for it. It's like the size I ride now. But Yeah, those boards were epic. What about the Sun Ice? Did you learn something there with licensing with Sun Ice?
No, I didn't learn anything about licensing. What I learned was Fred Nijkamp, okay? And Fred, he called me, I guess it was about 6 months ago, and wrote me this really long letter like I was mad at him. And I really was never mad at him. But, we never hired him when I started ABG. But Fred was running Sun Ice at the time, and I called him up, and big giant company, and I said, "Hello, Mr. Nijkamp, how are you?" And I said, "I know you sell a lot of ski jackets, but you don't really sell a lot of snowboard stuff."
Nobody does.
And he goes, "Well, no, they buy the ski stuff." I said, "No, they buy the ski stuff because there is no snowboard stuff."
Yeah.
And I said, "Let's make snowboard gear. Let's do a collaboration." Okay, that's where I learned about collaborations way back in sort of 87 when we started with Sun Ice, and we had this great relationship in Sun Ice and Kemper, in the Kemper one piece, and you remember those jackets? My kids still have those jackets to this day, and they sort of wear them at Telluride on Retro Day. But
of course.
We formed a phenomenal relationship, and Sun Ice, for years, multiple years, was doing phenomenal with the brand Kemper, on the outerwear business. But then, of course, many outerwear companies, came around, and Sun Ice didn't really keep up with the style and what they were doing. To be honest and truthful, they were taking ski jackets and making them a little bigger, a little baggier.
Yeah, I was going to ask, did you have a designer, or were you a designer?
No, they were doing it, and they should have gone out and hired a real snowboard clothing designer, and they didn't do that.
They should have talked to their team. I mean, Hetzel and Salaz, like real snowboarders, were on that Kemper team.
100%.
Yeah, huge guys that would have told you, no, we want our jackets to look like this or whatever. But yeah, the Sun Ice thing, they were the cool brand of skiing, and then you brought them on as a snow jackets. It just made sense. So yeah, the collaborations. Had you done something before that as a collaboration, or was that the very first one?
That was the very first one.
Yeah, that's
very
perfect.
First one.
Yeah. So then, okay, so Kemper somehow all of a sudden they showed up as like clear out. It was the very first snowboard clear out. I think I bought a board from Mad Mike's for $100.
I mean, look, the truth of the matter is we made a few snowboards that, in my opinion, I chatted with you the other day about this. That you thought they were good boards.
Oh yeah,
they were not. They were not. They were not so good. And those were more on the sort of slalom side.
Yes.
And they were more for racing.
It was the bullets and the aggressors.
Bullets and going fast, and they were too stiff. And I gave you all the things that David didn't like about them.
Sure.
Truth be told, as time went on, those boards were actually not that bad.
No, of course.
But we had a lot of inventory left. Okay.
So
at
you
the end
just
of the year.
dumped it.
And we didn't dump it, but we marked it down and we sold it aggressively. And
right, because at that time almost every single brand is just like they're selling out in September or whatever, and you can't even do reorders because nobody's taking the big numbers like what you're doing.
Correct.
Right? Like
I think
you were
we
the
were
first guy to do big numbers.
Maybe we were stuck with 2,000, 3,000, 5,000. But it was not like today. It would be like nothing.
How long did you have Kemper for? You kept
Kemper
it for?
Kemper was 86 to 1990. Got sold, by the way, and got sold for a lot of money.
Yeah,
got sold I think for $5 or $6 million. A lot of money back then, right?
Yeah.
Now it's 90, and we sold it. We sold to a company out west in California called Neil Pride, a guy named Armin Gagorian.
I know Neil Pride, in the windsurfing.
In the windsurfing business, and we sold it to them, and they paid for the business, and they asked if I would move to California.
Yeah.
And I said, okay, I'll move to California, but maybe I won't. So sometime around that time, I was offered to be the sales manager or head sales manager of Burton.
Wow.
And Jake offered me was $80,000. Wow. And I went to my wife and I said, we're going to go work for Burton Snowboards. And
would you move to Burlington then?
And you're going to move to Burlington, Vermont. And it was like, this is a big job and it's way more money. We're only making 40 grand right now. This is double my salary. And
amazing.
A bonus. And I'm going to be the president of Canada. And like, this could be like, wow.
Yeah.
And so I went, I interviewed, met with Jake, met with Donna, and came home, went to my boss. I said, sir, I think I'm going to take this job. He says, don't take it before you sell the business. I said, no, we'll sell the business. We'll get a transition. We'll do what we're supposed to do. But then I flew out to California. I really like California better than Vermont. And my wife really liked California better than Vermont. And the nice thing is they paid me $80,000. They paid me more. They paid me $100,000.
Holy jeez.
So I was actually making more money.
Yeah.
And Kemper came on even stronger, as everyone knows. But I did that for really only 1 year.
Yeah.
And the reason I did that for only 1 year is a great time with Armin, but I was driving from Glendale to Calabasas, and I had my son Corey, and I had Matt, and 2 kids, and my wife, and not a lot of friends in California because we just moved there. And I was getting homesick, and my wife was getting homesick, and she wanted to move back to Toronto, and I decided it wasn't going to work out with Armin. I didn't really like Armin's partner either, to tell the truth.
Yeah.
And Armin was amazing, but his partner was a little strange. So I said to Armin, I'm going to leave. So I left on good terms. I helped him out. But while I was doing that, I started a company called CAS, which was Corey Adam Salter, is what it stood for, CAS Sports.
Rad.
And CAS Sports, was buying and selling, sporting goods. And while I was doing that, I, said, you know what? I really like the snowboard business. And I called Tim Pogue.
So how did you know Tim and his wife?
Well, because Tim was working for me at Kemper.
No way. Before he went to work for Burton?
Yeah. No, after.
After. Oh, he left Burton.
He was the Burton team manager.
Yes.
And I called him when I was at Kemper, and I said, you got to come work for me. That's how I built up such a great team at Kemper, was through Tim. I owe all that to Tim.
Yeah.
Tim was the brainchild, sort of, the roots and which riders are great riders. And I said, Tim, I want to start a snowboard company again. And he said, well, yeah, let's do it. And I said, well, what are we going to call it? And he says, I don't know. What do you want to call it? I said, well, what do you do? Like what is snowboarding? Like, what do you do? He goes, well, you ride snowboards. And I said, ride. What a good name. That's a great name. You ride snowboards. And I said, but won't Joyride get mad at us? And he says, who cares? Who cares? I said, I agree. Who cares? Joyride, ride. It's fine.
Yeah.
And I said, it's kind of a good name, Nick, because think about it. We could do ride bikes one day. We could do ride inline skates one day.
Right.
We could do ride skateboards. We could do anything with movement. Could be ride. Right. So I kind of like the name Ride. Let's do it. So he goes, we got to move to Seattle. I said, why? He said, way better than California, closer to the mountains, and it's just better.
Yeah.
I said, okay. And
this is like 1992, 91?
91.
Holy, yeah, like
maybe even
grunge.
90 or 91.
Seattle's still like, I mean, it's kind of a small place compared to like big California,
So there's a guy there. His name was Roger Madison.
Mm-hmm.
So Roger was like, first of all, Tim said, where are we going to get the money? I said, don't worry, you know me, I'll find the money. And so I called Roger. I said, Roger, I know you're going to buy nitro snowboards. And he was in the suntanning business. I said, I got a better idea. You shouldn't waste your money buying nitro. You should come partners with me and Tim and be a part of Ride. And he goes, well, what is Ride? I said, no, it's going to be the biggest snowboard company out there. I got the right guys. I mean, I know how to do this. And I convinced him. He was a big businessman at the time.
Yeah.
I mean, at least he thought he was. So we set up a company, called it Ride Snowboards. And I said, okay, Roger, we need some money. He goes, well, I don't have any. I said, no, Roger, no. We really need some money. And he says, well, my business is not going so well in the tanning business. And I said, Roger, fine. You own 60%, I own 40. I now own 60, and you now own 40. He goes, where are you going to get the money? I said, don't worry. Called my brother. He's a banker. I said, I need money. He says, how much? I said, $2.5 million, only $2.5 million. And he said, okay. Called Corey Heckler, my best friend, today. And I said, Cor, hi. I know you're my brother's friend. I need to borrow $2.5 million. How much you can charge me? He says, how much can you pay? I said, I pay you 10%. He said, 10% a year? I said, no, 10% a month. He says, you're going to pay me, $250,000. I said, I'm going to make $2.5 million selling these snowboards. Of course I'll pay you $250,000. He goes, I'll make it better for you. You don't have to pay me $250,000. I'll just lend you the $2.5 million. Pay me back when you can. Well, wow. I said, Cor, you're great. I paid him back literally a month or 2 months later. And they became my sort of source for money, my brother and Corey. And now, fast forward, we're now like 90 and going into the second year, and we're doing $25 million in business. And we, like, I got Cor, Mark, I mean, okay, they're still helping me get the money and they're figuring it out. And my brother finally comes to me, he says, I think you're ready to go public.
Already, after 1 year.
And I said, okay. And he says, because you need money. You need some real money. And by 93 or 94, maybe it's 94, we're doing $250 million. And me and Tim, we're not the biggest businessman in the world, either one of us. But, we work 24 hours a day.
Where did Jason fit in this?
Well, Jason Ford, that was our claim to fame, right?
Yeah.
Like we got Jason Ford. And when we got Jason, it was like, you just got Burton's best rider. You're set.
Yeah.
And Jason really helped take the company up, but we couldn't afford him, right? So I said, Jason, you know what? I'll give you a little bit of money, but I'll give you a piece of the action.
Yeah.
So we gave him stock in the company.
He said that he had to like borrow money from friends and family and everything. He said you offered him for 10 grand, maybe 20,000 shares or something like that. I forget what.
And it turned out to be like $250,000 or something.
Way more. I
don't even know.
Millions. Because it went to $40 a share.
Well,
right?
it went to $40 a share, but remember, it split 2 for 1. So it was really like 77 would have been the high point of Ride.
He said that he called a stockbroker and he goes, he's just a kid, right? Like he's a 20-year-old snowboarding kid. His check to you guys,
good guy.
And a really good guy. Yeah, and a smart person.
And well put together.
Yeah. He said he put together the $10,000, but the first check he gave you guys bounced. And he was like, no, the money's in there. It really is. And you guys honored the second check or whatever. And he's looking at the screen on the TV and Ride. That was all anyone was talking about. And I don't just mean snowboarders. I mean the world. They were like, there was a snowboard company that has gone public, and it's going like insane. It's like it's the best. It's the most talked about stock of 94 or whenever it goes.
Third best performing stock on the NASDAQ. It was iOmega Zip Drives, AOL, and Ride Snowboards.
That's unbelievable. So he calls a broker out of the blue and just says like, hey, I got like 40,000 shares of this or 20,000 shares of it. And the guy FedEx him the next day, cell phone. He's like, you're going to need this. You're a millionaire, dude. And he's like, what? He had no idea. He just didn't know. He didn't know what he had bought. He had no idea how it worked. So how do you change as a person when all of a sudden this thing explodes exponentially to where you're managing hundreds of millions of dollars?
Well, the first thing is I brought in a board and had a really good, strong board. And I said, we want to expand the business into multiple categories, and Tim vetoed me on that.
Yeah.
That probably was our first big disagreement.
Yeah, because Tim, there is a thing in the snowboard industry, a kind of limiter, which is this community thing, right? And I'm sure you would have heard that from Jake. You know, you would have been in meetings where everybody around the table, Chuck Barfoot, Jake, the Mervyn guys, anyone who's owning a snowboard company that's got this idea of community and riders, a rider-driven company, is going to try and stay away from the sports authorities of the world. And
of course, I was the exact
You're the opposite. You're the opposite. So you're sitting in these meetings.
I was the commercial guy.
Yeah. You're sitting in the meetings going, oh my God, I can't believe I'm the only one here that's going to actually go after where the real chunk of money is.
It wasn't the chunk of money. It was the customers.
Yeah.
It was the customers. And what I tried to explain to Jake and Chuck Barfoot,
yeah,
as I said, guys, I get it. And I'm the biggest brand snob there is out there.
Sure.
But if you want this business to go mainstream,
right,
you need to talk to mainstream customers. Mm-hmm. And if we're not going to talk to mainstream customers, we're going to be limited how much we can grow.
Yeah.
Now, at the end of the day, Gucci or Yves Saint Laurent is a great company, but they sell one particular customer, very wealthy luxury customer. And snowboarding at the time was selling to a very limited amount of customers. And I wanted to take it to the family, and not just the cool dude or the cool girl. I wanted to take it more to the kids and the mothers and the fathers. And the only way of doing that was giving them a platform where they could shop.
Yeah.
And that platform was Sports Authority.
Sure.
I don't even think it was called Sports Authority then. It was called Gart Sports.
Yeah.
Garts and Big Five and Dunham's. We took the same approach as the ski companies. And the ski companies were already there. I mean, ski, if you wanted to buy a pair of skis, you went to Garts. If you wanted to buy a pair of skis, you went to Dunham's or Dick's Sporting Goods or whoever was, at the time in the ski business. So we really just took the same approach to skiing. But here's where the problem was. Everyone had different ways of putting the bindings on.
Absolutely.
And that was a problem. And the reason that was a problem is because, who's the tech?
Right.
Right? And so we did seminars, here's the Kemper way that you're going to put the bindings on, and here's the Burton way, and, here's the Chuck Barfoot way. And, I called up Jake, or Jake called up me, I don't remember, and I said, let's kind of put some sanity here.
Yeah.
Let's all come up with one way. I mean, on ski bindings, there's only one way, right?
Yeah.
There's 4 holes, you put them in, boom, and every ski company knows where those bindings go, and they put the metal plates in there so the bindings, sort of go in.
Yeah.
I mean, later on in life, they sort of changed it a little bit, but they integrated it all. But if you really think that wasn't done in the snowboarding business for, really, I would say, I don't know if it's 10 years in, but it was a while.
Yeah.
So we one day, 4 holes, 6 holes, 8 holes, sliders.
Yeah.
I mean, they had it all.
Yeah.
And we finally all agreed, 4 holes.
Yeah.
Great. 4 holes works for me.
Yeah.
And that made it easier.
It
way easier for us, made it way easier for the retailers, made it way easier for the consumers to understand. By the way, someone's binding broke. It was easy. You could buy another binding.
Totally.
Right? You didn't have to buy a Burton binding to go on your Burton board. You could buy a ride binding to go on your Burton board. You could buy a Burton binding, go on your ride board. It just made life much, much easier.
Yeah.
And I think that sort of helped the business. And, over time we got more and more respect at Ride, and people sort of liked what we were doing.
The bindings kicked ass too. Separating the bindings from ride bindings,
I think that
for
was
a while.
Mike Tadgel, right? Mike Tadgel was the binding guy.
I don't know. Yeah, I know that there was Preston, right? Like, so they started with Ride, then they decided we're going to do it kind of like, we're going to call the bindings Preston, maybe just so that You didn't even think
that was Tim.
You could put them right onto Burton boards without thinking like, oh, these don't go together. Oh, it's just a binding company. It goes on every board.
And then we had Capel clothing.
Oh, that was so sick.
And that's when we were dressing up women, in men's clothes because Tim thought that was a good marketing idea. It actually worked.
It worked. Yeah. I mean, for my generation, Capel, it still brings up the imagery.
Yeah.
It was an incredible campaign. Yeah. Yeah. And the pieces were cutting edge, kind of fashiony, but still functioning materials. This shit was awesome.
Tim was great. I mean, and Tim he saw it. He had great creativity, unbelievable wife. Steph was still one of my favorite people in the whole wide world.
Rad.
They were great. And look, I can honestly say I'm still with my wife today, almost 35 years later, and we were a family. We were all a family. We all worked together. We played together, and we went to each other's parties, and it was just it was a real family atmosphere. And I learned that early on at Ride, and today at ABG, I think if you go around and talk to every employee in this company, they're going to say, this is a crazy place, but it's run like a family. And, the father yells at the son yells at the father. But we have a lot of fun here. And I think that's important in business, right?
That culture,
making money, that's a scorecard.
Yeah.
Having fun, that's really, really important. And I think that we had a lot of fun, and that's why Ride went great. Now, I'll tell you, though, once we went public, that's why my son always says, Dad, never go public. But the reason it got different. It got different. It was about numbers.
You're beholden to shareholders.
You're beholden to shareholders.
Quarterly reports.
Quarterly reports. They don't like the bindings, or they don't like the colors on the board.
Oh, no.
Everybody had an opinion, and they had a platform. To sort of talk about it.
When does Brushy come on? That deal, I don't know anything about the details. It was rumored it was the first $1 million snowboarder contract. But
we made a big deal out of that.
Yeah, was it before going public? Or
after?
It was after. It was right after. It's we got the big guy.
After. I think it was after.
Yeah.
I think it was. Look, they were paying. Burton was paying.
Yeah.
But Burton couldn't pay everyone.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I mean, Craig Kelly was probably the biggest guy at the,
100%.
I don't think anyone was ever bigger than him.
Not at that era. No, definitely not. But Brush, I mean,
Brush, Jason Ford.
Yeah.
They were sort of the.
But
the
Brush was the community hero, of the snowboard community. You loved Brushy. He was the cool guy. He had the dreads. He was just lanky style. The way he rode was completely his own way. You know what I mean? It was insane. Yeah. And
so Brushy.
Coming on, was that how does he fit in with you guys? Does he?
Yes, I mean, look, Tim can talk to all those people. He can hang with them. He could talk the talk.
Yeah.
I was more the business guy. But you look today at the way ABG runs, right? There's Nick Woodhouse and there's Jamie Salter, and Nick is creative and marketing and merchandising and product, and I'm more structure of the deal and distribution and more M&A. So left brain, right brain. Tim was definitely that left side, and I was the right side.
So again, so the snowboarding thing leads into where you are now. You need those two to be in balance. Do you guys scream at each other, you and Tim? Tim wants to,
I mean,
do
look, Tim
stuff.
and I had a phenomenal relationship because we made money together and became wealthy together, and a lot of respect. I still speak to Tim, a couple times a year. Funny enough, Tim did come to ABG for a very short moment.
Really?
And Tim was working with my partner Nick.
Yeah.
They butted heads a little bit.
Okay.
I got huge respect for Tim.
Yeah, and if you look at where Jason went too, Jason Ford, with the media management stuff that he's doing. It's insane.
Yeah,
it's insane.
Jason's done very well. Look, a lot of the boys, Mike Tadgel's done very well. A lot of the boys at Ride did well. Markovich is, retired now, but Markovich, we brought on, I found him at Nike. He was running Nike Canada.
Yeah.
And I brought him in. I mean, there's no doubt about it that Ride definitely had some pretty talented people throughout the career there.
And it was the first big business snowboard company. Burton was doing it the way that Burton was doing it, but everybody else was like way down here. A couple hundred to 1,000 boards a year kind of thing, and barely making it.
And by the way, we were supplying most of them.
Yeah, of course. Oh yeah, you guys bought the thermal factory.
We owned the thermal factory, and we controlled a lot of the production in Europe. And obviously, we had this great relationship with Palais, and
that started from the back in the beginning.
From the back in the beginning.
Yeah,
so
that's incredible.
We definitely, anyone that wanted to make snowboards, I was always a big believer. Look, they're going to make them anyway, so we might as well make them for them.
So how do you get out of that era? Like, what takes you out of that era? Do you sell your
No, what happened, my wife said to me one day, it's enough. It's enough. You can't go Seattle to Toronto. You can't do that. And, I'm going to New York and Toronto every week now. But so
a little bit closer.
A little bit closer. A lot closer.
If the planes closed down, you could drive.
But the truth of the matter was, I really wanted to expand Ride into a multi-category business, and the board said, no, we're going to be a pure play in the snowboard business, just like Burton. And I said, that's not my vision. My vision is to be in multiple categories, multiple territories around the world. So maybe there's someone better than Jamie Salter and smarter than Jamie Salter. And I, had a lot of stock, and I said, okay, I understand. And I said, I'm going to be giving my notice. And I gave my notice, I think it was 96, late 95, 96.
Yeah.
And I left. They hired a great guy. They thought they hired a great guy. In the end, I don't think he was such a great guy.
Sure.
But they hired Bob. He was running Solomon at the time, and Varney, and they brought him on. Super smart, right? Talented, knew what he was doing. They thought, but he took all the culture away, and he made it very corporate, and he was never really in the building, and He was a different individual. He's a suit tie guy. Didn't get along with the snowboarding people so much. And what I did is I did what I did. I set up my new company called, at the time, Gen X. And Gen X became very big, very fast.
Did you grabbed a bunch of snowboard brands?
I was buying brands. I created some brands.
Yeah.
Lamar Snowboards at the time.
You got Kemper back at one point, didn't you?
I had Kemper. I think I bought Sims maybe.
Probably.
I think I did.
I remember when
I bought Sims Snowboards.
Too.
So I built up the business, but it wasn't just snowboarding. It was Ultra Wheels, inline skates, and I built the business. And
it was a big supplier. To multiple huge retail chains.
Ram Golf, Tommy Armour Golf, and we became very big. And we got bought out, and then I retired. And that was it. I'm done. I'm going to just go and enjoy my money, and and that lasted a week. And I at the end of the week, my friend John Ferzani called me up and he said, why don't you come work with me? I said, John, I don't need to really work. He says, I'm going to give you a bunch of stock. And that was Sport Check, right, in Canada.
Yeah, Ferzani
gave me a lot of stock. And he says, look, we need you. You're important to us. You're a great supplier. We buy all these brands from you. You're a huge part of our profits. And I said, okay. I started, Gen X2.
Yeah.
And Gen X2 became very big. And then what did I do? I think I did a deal with Michael Rubin, which is GSI. And GSI, which is today Fanatics. And GSI, we built that business up, me and Michael Rubin, and Michael's way more famous than me, but also great friend. And Michael and I, we were doing a lot of business, in about $250 million, and we were partners. And while that was going on, something strange happened. We went to Portland, Oregon. I did, and we met with Mickey Kerbel, and Mickey Kerbel, Windsurfing Warehouse, which also owns Snowboard Warehouse or whatever it was called back then.
Yep.
And he had all these big Packard Bell computers down in his basement. He had gear.com and snowboard.com and extreme.com, and every computer was a different website.
Yeah.
I said, what is this, Mickey? He said, oh, these are all stores, and we're selling them on the internet. And I said, well, all the inventory is mine. You need to pay me, Mickey. He said, well, I don't have any money to pay you because I'm spending it all on technology. I said, Mickey, it looks like you got 12 computers here. What technology? They're $2,500 each.
Yeah.
He said, no, Jamie, I'm telling you, like a lot of money in technology. I said, I don't understand. I said, Mickey, you need to pay me. You owe us $1 million. Michael Rubin's going to kill me, and you need to pay us. So, I went back and I said, Michael, I think there's something here on this internet business. And he said, well, what do you think? And I said, I think we can sell a lot of product on the internet. And he goes, okay, so let's go sell to sportsauthority.com. I said, well, there is no sportsauthority.com. There is no dicks.com. There is no dunhams.com. He goes, great. Let's license their names. And that's where the whole big licensing idea came into play.
Wow.
And
it's brilliant.
And I said, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
And it was Michael's idea. I'm not going to take it away from him. But it was my idea to go into the internet business.
Yeah.
So Michael and I, like, very quickly, we said, let's really go at this. And Michael sort of took the internet idea and he ran with it, and I ran the traditional business. And our business was going phenomenal. And here we are signing up all these people, and, business is getting bigger in sort of market size, meaning the enterprise value is worth a lot. We weren't selling anything on the internet yet. And our stock is now $22. Michael's a public company, and, I own, 3 million shares, and Michael owns 5 million shares, and there's 15 million shares outstanding, and the stock's $22, and I got $60 million. And I go, Michael, like, this is good. You're doing a good job. Stock goes from 20 to 12, and like one day I call Michael. I go, Michael, what happened? He goes, what do you mean what happened? The stock went down. I said, I know. I just lost a lot of money. And he goes, well, we're doing a money raise and we're raising money. We need money for the internet. And I said, Michael, what did you do? And, he says, well, I went to this company and they're going to I said, Michael, they just sold all your stock and now we're going to do a deal with them. And quite frankly, this is not fair. Okay. Like, these guys are screwing us. He goes, well, what do you want me to do? We need the money. I said, cancel the deal. How much does it cost? It's $50,000. So he cancels the deal. Stock goes back up because they got to buy all the stock because they thought that they were going to get delivery from us. Stock goes back to like 17 or 18 or something like that. And
yeah.
Michael gets a call from Motowishi-san from SoftBank, literally from SoftBank, who's now like one of the biggest investors in the world. And he says, I'll buy, a third of your company.
Wow.
Or maybe it's 2/3 or something, but for $80 million.
Oh, wow.
But you have to sell all the bricks and mortar companies because we lose money in the internet business. And I said, what do you mean we lose money? And he says, no. He told me that we should lose money, that we should just build the business. Sure enough, all these companies that are doing great, they don't make any money.
Right.
So I said, well, look, if that's the business that you guys are going to run, I'm very happy to buy sort of the bricks and mortar companies from you. And I bought them, sure enough, because I had 4 kids at the time. And for me, it was about making $1. And for Mike, it was about really, sort of building this big internet business. And I was right. Stock went, from 20 to $1. So I made the right decision. I was wrong when Michael said, Jamie, you need to invest in me now. I'm going to be huge.
Right.
And that was a big mistake in my life. And I blame myself. I really blame my partner, but I can't blame my partner because I make my own decisions.
Right.
But I didn't do it. And I regret it to this day. Michael wouldn't talk to me for a few years. Very upsetting for me because, you know, I respect Michael Rubin immensely. He's one of my best friends in the world, and I love him, and he's like the uncle to my kids, and it hurt me. But I worked on that relationship, and we got together a couple years, 3 years, 4 years later, and that was a long time ago. And Michael is, to this day is been a great friend. And sure enough, Michael prevailed and sold his company at $38 a share to eBay and made $2.5 billion. So wow. I clearly made a mistake. But I haven't done so bad for myself.
Yeah.
But it was a learning, moment for me. And it taught me a lot, just about relationships and partnerships and do the right thing. And, it's not just about money. It's really about doing the right thing. But then I went on and I, really created something special. I went to work at Hilco, did that for 4 years, and I bought Polaroid, and I bought Sharper Image, and I bought Ellen Tracy, and bought all these companies. And I did that for 4 years, and business was going well. We invested about $225 million, so it was a lot. Got an offer to sell the business for $450 million. I went to my partner. My partner said, no, we could get more. And I said, no, that's a fair price. And then my partner fired me 3 months later. And I said, why are you firing me? He says, well, I don't like you anymore. I said, why? And he says, well, you want to buy the company and you want to sort of go and do it all on your own. I said, well, Jeff, Hilco, it's a liquid. You're a liquidator. And I don't want to be a liquidator. I want to be a builder. I'm a builder. I'm not a liquidator. So we're not a good match. He said, well, I own 2/3, you own 1/3. So I'm going to do what I want to do. And you're gone. And that was 12 years ago. Hilco's never bought any IP since that day. And they're still a liquidator. And we started ABG. And my son and I, and we started it, and we were 2, and then we were 3, and then we were 4, and here we are sort of 12 years later. We've got a couple hundred people here at ABG that manage the business. The company is all over the world. It's got 1,100 partners. There's, I don't know how many employees we have around the world that work with us and our partners. I know, just in Spark alone, which is one of our companies, has 30,000 people. JCPenney's has 60,000 people. So, just in those two operating companies, we have 90,000, people that we put food on their table. And we've built an incredible culture here at ABG, which is partner with best-in-class partners all over the world, and make sure that we try to keep this family atmosphere going. And I got to tell you, it's not easy, but we're all humble. We're happy, and we're having a great time. And, we're just trying to accomplish something, and, sort of one day at a time.
Yeah, you took us through the showrooms of, some of the brands that you guys have. It's such a huge company.
It's the biggest little company. we are little, like we're just a tight group here, but yes, it's a very large company. We're the second largest consumer licensing company in the world behind Disney.
Jesus.
And we're proud of sort of what we've accomplished. I have incredible people around me. I could never be where I am today without my partners, without my employees, and most importantly, without my family. And my family is really the most important thing in my life. And And I can't say enough things about them, because without them, I wouldn't be here today. They're the biggest support that I have. So I'm super excited. I'm super blessed. And most importantly, I'm super happy.
Yeah, you could see you're healthy, man. Like you're healthy and vibrant. That's dope.
I'm a little fat and I'm a little short, but yeah, I'm doing pretty good.
So how often do you ever go out snowboarding? Is that something?
I snowboard every year.
Yeah. Would you take a heli trip, or would you just go to the resorts?
I've been to Island Lake Lodge.
Nice.
I've heliboarded in Salt Lake, but we go to Telluride all the time.
Beautiful. Yeah, gorgeous place.
Tim introduced me to Telluride way back in the day with my brother, and my brother still has a place there. And
it's got such a rad vibe. Yeah, it's a really, really cool spot, huh?
Yeah.
Jamie, I want to thank you for doing the show. It's incredible. Your story's nuts. I think there's not an awful lot of people in snowboarding in the industry itself that made a lot of money. Like it's one of those industries where there was like 2 or 3 guys that were actually doing it.
It's not money.
Yeah.
Money's a scorecard.
Right.
I love to golf.
Right.
I'm not really good at it.
Right.
So I can only tell you that it's a great accomplishment. I agree with you. But the bigger accomplishment for me is the people around me, to see them grow and see my kids grow. That's what makes me happy and exciting. The fact that this company has just purchased Reebok, one of the largest, footwear companies in the world, it blows me away.
Yeah,
so I'm not going to tell you that I'm not like, oh my God, wow. I wake up every morning, wow.
Yeah.
But it really is about the people I'm surrounded by.
Sick. Yeah. Well, I got the bug in my ear to get in touch with you when I heard you bought Volcom. I was like, really? Oh, I need to talk to that guy, because I knew of your history, and I was like, he's still buying snowboard companies? This is, 30 years later. This is insane. But then,
listen, I've tried to buy Burton a few times. Maybe one day Donna will sell it to me. I mean, Donna, I want to buy Burton snowboards. When you're listening to this, call me.
Awesome, man. I'm talking to Chip Wilson too. You probably want to buy his thing.
Love Chip.
Yeah.
Chip and I know each other. We talk all the time.
Yeah.
Chip and I are talking about actually one of his companies to become partners with us in
sweet.
in China. They own Anta, as you know, and Wilson, and so Chip and I, we have a good history. Morrow Snowboards, West Beach.
Yeah.
Huge respect for that guy. That guy he's wow. He's done an unbelievable job with Lululemon. So yes, and I'm still friends with Kevin Jardine and all these people that sort of go back and created all this stuff.
Yeah, it all comes out of this whole, David Kemper. How did he even get your guy's number?
I have no idea.
Do you ever talk to David? Is he still around?
No,
I don't even know where he is.
I mean, I don't know if he's in Toronto.
Yeah.
I probably should be better on Facebook and Instagram and stuff like that, but I try to stay off social media as a general rule.
Yeah.
But I'm going to look him up now that we've done this interview and see if I can find him.
Yeah, and don't be surprised if you get a call from Donna.
Well, listen, thank you so much for your time. This was super fun.
Dude, so much fun.
This is I haven't done anything like this ever for Ride. So this was kind of cool. And,
you know what? Thanks for all your contributions. I'm the grommy kid that's always looking for the most core thing when I was growing up. So, I probably would have been anti-corporate stuff for a really long time, but this is really fun. The 2 different paths lead to 2 completely different places. I still snowboard a lot, but I don't make a lot of money.
Well, listen, you'll hang out with me and I'll hang out with you. I'll work less and I'll snowboard more and then I'll teach you a few things.
Yeah, for sure. I'll take you out sledding.
Okay.
Awesome, man.
Have a great one.
Yeah, you too.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Jamie. FNRad shout-outs to Jamie Salter and his whole family. Thanks for living the crazy life you've led and helping to shape the snowboarding industry. Shout outs to Volcom and specifically Tyler Element and his crew at Heat Seeker Sales for keeping me set up with Volcom outerwear and accessories. Be sure to come back next week for another episode of the FNRad Snowboard Podcast, presented by Vans and brought to you by SIA Productions.